listening to Let's Get Surety. Let me hear your bonding talk with Kat Shamapande.
Hey everyone, it's Kat Shamapande. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Let's Get Surety. Today I have with me Mark McCallum, CEO of NASBP. Hey Mark, thanks for being on.
Hi Kat, great to be back with you.
It's always good to have you on as my co-host.
Well, thanks.
And today I'm super excited about our topic. We're going to be talking about SBA's bonding guarantee program and the updates and advances they've made to make the program more efficient and more accessible so that they can help more small businesses with bonding. To do that, we have three guests on with us. We have Andrea Haight, AVP of CCI Surety Incorporated. Hey, Andrea, thanks for being on.
Hey, Kat, thanks for having me.
We also have Michelle Savage, Vice President of Communication at XBRL US. Hey, Michelle, thanks for being on as well.
Thanks so much, Kat and Mark. Glad to be here.
We're happy to have you. And definitely last but not least, we have Jennifer Vigil, Acting Director for the Office of Surety Guarantee, Office of Capital Access at the U.S. Small Business Administration, or SBA. Hey, Jennifer, thanks for being on.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad we could have you. And I think I got the whole name of the organization in there, right?
It's a long one.
It's a long one. I just wanted to make sure I got it all. Well, before we dive into the topic today, I just want to see if each of you could just tell us a little bit more about yourselves and about your organization. So, Andrea, do you want to kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself and about CCI Surety?
Absolutely. So CCI Surety has been in business for over 20 years. Our goal since inception has been helping small businesses with all types of bonding. I personally specialize in the contract bonds, but we also have a commercial department as well. I've been with CCI for 19 years, so I've seen the SBA program change a lot over that time, and I hear stories about even before that. But just really excited to be here and just talk about the program, which we utilize all the time.
That's terrific. Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about XBRL and your involvement in the process as well, and yourself?
Sure. As you mentioned, I manage marketing and communication, but we're a very small nonprofit organization, and we are essentially a standard setter. We develop and implement data standards where we think they make sense, where we think they're going to improve efficiencies. And the standard that we support, which is a little bit of a mouthful too, XBRL, which stands for Extensible Business Reporting Language, essentially takes paper-based data and renders it machine-readable so that it can be automatically consumed and extracted into other databases and analytical applications. It's an open data standard, and right now it's being used in a lot of implementations around the world, specifically here in the U.S. Public companies have to report using the standard to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Banking institutions have to report to the FDIC in XBRL format. And also public utilities are required to report in XBRL as well. So it's pretty broadly used, and we're really excited about bringing it to the surety industry. We've been working on this program with NASBP for many, many years, and we're excited that SBA has embraced it at this stage. So looking forward to moving ahead.
That is exciting. Well, Jennifer, to kind of kick us off, can you tell us about SBA yourself and the SBA guarantee program?
Sure. So I am Jennifer Vigil. I am the Acting Director for the Office of Surety Guarantees at the U.S. Small Business Administration. And the purpose of this SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program is it's designed to help small and emerging businesses get a surety bond and therefore get contracts and grow. We guarantee 80 to 90% of the bond, which encourages sureties to issue more bonds and have less liability. So that's what we do.
That's terrific. So I know that the SBA has started the testing for the WIP reporting system and that has rolled out. Can we talk a little bit more about why this is the area that you chose to expand into?
Yes. So it's a step in a very long process, right? So anyone familiar with SBA and our program could tell you that it used to be a a long process to submit an application. But we've come a long way. I mean, we're 100% paperless now. We now accept e-signatures on all of our forms because yeah, we know that contractors need to be out in the field doing their jobs, right? and so XBRL is a huge step, another step forward where the work in process can easily be input into our system without having to do a lot of data entry by hand. So we are very excited to make it more efficient and more accurate for both our agents and our small business owners.
When that seems very key, Jennifer. I know, as you said, you guys have made a lot of efficiency improvements going from a paper environment now to a electronic or eventually digital environment. And I imagine that also is something that is very key for the producers who need to interface with the program. Would you say that's correct?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think anything that makes it easier for our agents to submit an application to us it's a big deal, right? That's what they do every day. And if we can make that a little bit easier for them, that's what we're here to do.
Right. Andrea, I bet, CCI, this is a big improvement for you. Could you kind of characterize that evolution that you've gone through?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, I've been working, with the program for almost 20 years now. And during that time, we've really seen a lot of improvements with first the agents having access to the SBA system online. Previously, we had to get all the paperwork, FedEx it overnight, and then SBA had to have employees to rekey all that data. That alone, it's been a while since they started that, but that alone was just a huge leap. From there, we started being able to do the e-signatures, which may not sound like a big deal, but as Jennifer mentioned, we're talking about small businesses where the owner is also the guy who's on the job site all day. And if he has a bid in 2 days and he needs to go back to his office to have somebody print off a piece of paper for him to sign, it really slows down the process. Where now he can look on his phone, click with a DocuSign, and it's a 15-minute process instead of maybe a day or two. So that was the next big leap, absolutely. So, we're just so happy on the agent producer side that SBA sees that these enhancements really do mean something, and I know that it's not easy for the government to be able to implement these things, and it does take some time, but you just stack on top of one after another, and the program just becomes so much more efficient and so much more usable and accessible to all these small businesses.
It's terrific. And, at least in my own experience, it seems like SBA is kind of leading the way in trying to go and get rid of a paper environment. It's so wonderful that the SBA bond guarantee program is so innovative in that space. And what's very nice is that not only are they looking at replacing the paper, but that data standardization. I know, Michelle, XBRL is such a key component to that. Could you tell us a little bit more about why that's important? What is it about the data, particularly the financial data, that is so important to treat so that different systems can identify that data, I imagine?
Sure. And it's interesting because when we first started this project back a few years ago, it was really working strictly with bond agents and sureties. And we looked at the work in process report as kind of low hanging fruit because it's a relatively simple document. But from the standpoint of the sureties, it takes a lot of time to rekey all the data, and it's taking up time from their valuable analysts actually doing this by hand. So we kind of developed our first set of data standards, and we were focusing on kind of working with contractors and bond agents directly to get this data completed in machine-readable format so it could be sent directly to the sureties. Well, I was actually at an NASBP conference a number of years ago, and I ran into Tamara Murray from SBA. And we just started chatting, and she was telling me about the SBA guarantee program. And said, gee, our biggest pain point for the bond agents that we work with is that they have to key in row upon row of data into this online form. And suddenly we're like, wow, this would be a slam dunk if we could get this data in machine readable format. And so that really started the process going. And the idea behind, Mark, to your question about like, why is this valuable? And not just for this program, but for other programs, is that you can consume this data automatically. So you improve the accuracy because you're not rekeying and potentially, adding errors into the data that you report. You improve the timeliness of the data, which I think certainly for work in process information, you want that data to be current so that you can make judgments based on real, updated data. And it's less costly. It's less costly to process. The other thing I think it's interesting in the surety business is that, you've got like really valuable people manually rekeying data. That is, kind of a, not a good thing from a job standpoint. And so if you can elevate that position so they're no longer doing manual data entry, it just makes it that much better for everybody.
Well, I imagine accuracy too is very important, and that without having to manually key in, you kind of eliminate errors and omissions, inadvertent as they may be, but you get greater accuracy in that regard as well.
Absolutely.
So we talked a little bit about CCI and their relationship with the SBA bond guarantee program. What has been the surety carrier reaction to this initiative? Is that something, Jennifer, you would like to speak to?
Yeah. I mean, everyone is so excited about this. I don't know if we're getting across how much work it is. And even in our system, the rows weren't even in the right order, which I've been here for 11 years, and I hear about this on a regular basis that are, it's out of order. So they can't even just fly through and enter it. So yeah, both sureties, because we have sureties who submit directly to us, and then we have agents also. Everyone is very excited about the time savings. And from an SBA standpoint, we always like to say in surety bonds that we have two groups of small businesses that we handle. We have small business owners, and then we also have our surety agents, who most of them are also small business owners. So it is such a great reach for both parties. And but I've been getting asked about this for 4 years. When is it going to be done? When is it going to be done? And we're so close, and everyone's very excited.
Just to have this launch must be so exciting. So everyone knows it's here when you've waited so long. That's terrific.
And, we talked a little bit about XBRL, the SEC using it, now the SBA in this area. Michelle, do you see other opportunities at the federal level? This being kind of building the momentum further?
Absolutely. And in fact, Jennifer and I were talking about this a little bit, that when you think about a contractor, they have data that goes to lots of different entry points. Yep. It goes to the surety, the WIP report, not just the WIP, but also their full financial statements, and which is a lot more data to rekey. So it goes to the surety. It might go to their bank, their lender, goes to the SBA, might go to their insurance company. And the idea behind XBRL is that you kind of create it once, use it many times. So if you create a machine-readable document, you can send the same document to all of these different places, and you're guaranteed that they're getting exactly the same data, and they can all consume it automatically. So from the standpoint of the SBA, we'd love to see this data going in other places to really assist contractors. And, and frankly, there are lots of other, government agencies that are looking into, using machine readable data for things like grants reporting, for congressional budget justification, transparency reports. There's actually a piece of legislation that recently passed that would require, called the Federal Data Transparency Act, which will require, or it's about to pass, which will require 8 different government agencies to collect data in machine-readable structured format, XBRL. So it's definitely expanding in the United States.
That's terrific. And correct me if I misstate this, but part of the process is you're using common tags, right, for that financial data. So what you're doing here, you're tagging that data. So then if it's adopted elsewhere in the government or in the private sector, all these systems will be able to identify that data as what it purports to be. They're all using the same tags. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So like if, assets from a contractor should be really seen in the same light as assets from a public company or even a bank or even a government. And, whereas the contractor may call their assets, give it a particular label, and a public company may give it a different kind of human readable label. The underlying tag, the machine readable tag, can be identical. So it's the idea of like that as a standard, a standard that is the same everywhere you look, but allows for certain flexibilities.
Right. So Andrea, I imagine it would be nice to see greater standardization and digitization in all the areas that you interface with. We talked about using DocuSign, electronic signature technology. Now you have this initiative. Are there other things that you'd like to see happen from your standpoint as a producer?
Yeah, I would say, like we mentioned, all of these small steps add up to a big picture of it being faster, more convenient, less wasted time, and just more accurate overall. I think one thing that would be, kind of a next step that would be great is to also make it easier for the contractor to be able to compile this data, to be able to then get it to the agent who can get it to SBA and down the line. But that just takes time and steps. And I think this is a huge first step to get to, things that we probably haven't even thought about yet,
Right.
15 years ago, if someone would have said, oh, in the future, then your contractors don't have to sign these SBA forms. You just send this little email and it comes back. I mean, it sounded a little more futuristic than it really is, today. So I think that's the important thing, is keeping the momentum for everybody on all levels of it, down to the contractor all the way up to the SBA or the bank or the surety or whomever is using this information. We all want to be able to do our job and spend our time doing our job and not wasting it doing things that we don't have to. And that's what this automation, helps to do.
Yeah, true transferability, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal. And, maybe that will occur faster than we might think. And what you guys are doing is unbelievable to make sure that here we have a real case that is happening and being demonstrated. So, Jennifer, what other plans does the SBA Bond Guarantee Program have kind of going in this direction?
Well, we are talking a lot about streamlining our forms. We have many forms, and so we're redoing them all now. They all expire in September, and so we're looking at language and doing all of that, and we are thinking about streamlining that process. I'll say that maybe having like 2 main forms for every type of application. That's where we would love to be in a year or 2. So
that's great. So you had mentioned forms expiring. Can you explain a little bit about that? I know that in our community, Sometimes there's confusion over, quote, an expiration date on a standardized governmental form. But it's my understanding that that really has to do with information data collection requirements by the federal government. Could you talk
Yes.
a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the forms have an expiration date on them. We have to get started really early because they have to go through not only our office, but the Office of General Counsel. And then they also, at the very end of the process, have to be approved by the Office of Management and Budget. So all of that takes time. And so they expire every 3 years. But a lot of times we can't get them done on time. We can't get all the other offices. So it's okay to use them until our next form comes out. I hope that will clarify for everybody. So you're allowed to use the form with that date until the next form comes out on our website. And then we, as the underwriting team, we will stop them and say, wait, you need this new form.
That's critically important information for people to understand, because we do get questions from time to time, even from contracting officers who think a particular form, once it meets its expiration date, means somehow that the underlying bond is not valid or enforceable, which of course it is.
Yes.
So people need to understand that it's really about the government's burden to meet paperwork requirements, and has nothing to do with the underlying obligations.
Yes, you are correct.
Thank you for telling us about that. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you guys were able to join us and celebrate this milestone with us. And I think the key takeaway that I'm getting is just that this is one step in a long process to keep improving and making the process more efficient and accessible. If each of you could give like one key takeaway for anyone listening, what would that be? Andrea, do you want to start? What's a key takeaway you'd love to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say my key takeaway would be for everyone to, if you think something works one way but haven't done it for a long time, reach out to those who use the program or whatever it is, because things are changing all the time, and people might have a perception of maybe how the SBA works or what their forms are or what their limitations might be, and it may have changed. So I think that's, we all kind of get set in our ways, and it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but we have to remember that things are ever changing. And so there might be some differences that make the program or whatever it is more accessible and usable. The only way to find out is to reach out to those people who are using it or, work in it.
That's a great point. Michelle, is there anything you would like to say or add?
Sure. Yeah, I think, my takeaway from this whole process of working with the NASBP and others in the surety and the bond agent industries is that it really does, to develop a standard and to implement a standard, it takes a consortium. It takes a village, not to use a hackneyed term, but it really takes everybody coming together and collaborating. And that's what's hard about standards, but that's also what's really good about it. And so, what you're seeing like right now around the table, we have the people who really champion this. And it is difficult to get people to change their ways, as you were saying, Andrea. But it really is kind of for the greater good. And, it can improve efficiencies in this one place. And then I think once you learn a little bit here, you can move on to the next area to implement standards that are going to help as well. So I think, I just appreciate everybody's involvement in this, because it did take everybody to get this done. It's not like one person with a lot of money can make it happen. It took everybody's buy-in, so we appreciate that.
That's awesome. Jennifer, what about you?
I guess my takeaway would be that our office realizes that time is money for our agents and for our small business owners. And we are here to help you with that. So we're always open to new ideas. We're always open to helping. I mean, we walk agents through submitting applications. We walk contractors through finding an agent. We're here to help. That's what we're paid to do. We're civil servants, and we take it very seriously. So if you need us, please reach out, and that is what we're here to do. So.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully we can get all of you back on with us another time for another episode to talk more about the SBA and the Guarantee Program. Thanks so much for being on with us, everyone.
You've been listening to Let's Get Surety, brought to you by the National Association of Surety Bond Producers. For more information about the NASBP and its members, visit nasbp.org.